What is going on, fam bam? We are live again. Feeling a bit tired today, but this is a really important conversation that I want to have with you all today. I've actually been wanting to have this talk like for several years now. When I first started my business in Dallas back in 2023, this was like the concept that I started it with, bridging from PT and having people who are feeling better go from pain to less pain, no pain, hopefully. And then what do you do next? What happens after that? You created this potential to have like a truly life-changing experience if you really wanted to and applied yourself. And even if you're like 75% better, like there's still a lot of function and a lot of potential that you could have if you just continued the progress and continued making momentum and making gains towards whatever it is that you wanted to do. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, is using physical therapy and using rehab as like a springboard. Think about it. You're going gradually up, 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 and then it hits a point where you're done with PT and you springboard off and you're just into the next iteration, the next version of Patty, the next version of Nick, the next version of Chris. And that's truly a beautiful thing, and I want more people to do that. So in a physical therapy capacity, you go to all your appointments and you do your home exercises, you actually believed in yourself, and after working with your therapist, you've achieved some confidence when going to therapy. And that's the beautiful thing, the confidence bit. When you've achieved that by getting evidence of your gains, you've improved your range of motion, you've improved your flexibility, you've improved your awareness of your body, your balance, your motor control, how you can control your body. Maybe you've improved your strength. I'll get into that a little bit. But confidence, like I mentioned before, is a huge thing that you're going to gain throughout your therapy process. And certainly you'll get better at your daily tasks. There's probably something that you couldn't do, or you couldn't do well, or you couldn't do without pain, that ultimately brought you into the clinic. You couldn't go upstairs, you couldn't go downstairs, you couldn't put your socks on, you couldn't bend over, you couldn't pick stuff up. Obviously those things are stuff you have to do in your daily life, so you want to get them to a point where you can do them. You're feeling less pain, you're less stressed about overall, just function, right? Because you can do life again. And so your quality of life increases, right? You're so much better off with less pain. But the kicker with all this is, the therapy system is built around you getting back to the basics. What's going on, Faj? Much love. Thanks for joining. And it's built around you getting dressed, walking a little better, cooking, cleaning, standing, and just generally being a productive person. So if you're a working age person, they want you back working. So you can add to the economy. If you're a non-working person, they want you out of the medical system. So you stop taking resources from the medical system. So that's the kicker is, there's this threshold that they want you to be at, but they don't want you to go much further than that. Because that, in the dollar effect, has a diminishing return on the funds that they can spend. They don't really care if you can run. They just care that, you can get to your doctor's appointments if you needed to walk into the clinic. They don't care about you traveling to Italy. They don't care about you being able to pick up your grandkids. They don't care about you running a 5K with your daughter. You know, they don't care about any of that. They just want you to be good enough. And there's some other things that we know are super helpful for us that fitness can allow, like having resilient bones and having strong muscles that don't create falls in the future, having a healthier weight, losing fat. And that's what we'll talk about a little bit later. So what I'm posing to you is, after therapy, there's other things, other goals that you may have. And ultimately, you got to figure out what that is for you. You got to figure out what it is that you care about. For Dad, he wants to play golf. He wants to be well enough to play a few days of golf in a row. You know, he may have some aches and pains here and there, but he doesn't want to have something that limits him from being with his boys and playing some golf. Mom likes to travel, so she likes to. She doesn't want her sciatica pain to limit her from being on planes and being in cars, and you know, you gotta sit for a long period of time if you want to travel somewhere. Got to get your body from A to B, and then once you're there, you don't want to be so debilitated by the actual travel bit that you can enjoy wherever you are. And so, you know, you've just got to be well enough that you can do and achieve whatever it is that makes sense for you. Now, I do have a little document that I'd love to give out, and it is the thing that I built originally in Dallas to help people bridge from PT to fitness. And so if that interests you, I'd love to offer that for you and totally free. And so if you want that, and just type in the comment section goals, GOALS, and I'll get with you and I'll send that off to you later. But that bridge program has a goal setting worksheet where you're just prompted to think about, what is it that I want to achieve? Do I want to be able to pick up my grandkids? Is it golf? Is it travel? Is it running a 5K? You know, whatever it is for you. And once you have that North Star, once you know what that physical goal is, then you can work backwards and say, you know, if I want to run, like, we've got to get my heart. We're going to address the heart issues. We got to address the cardiovascular endurance, and just make sure that you're healthy enough to engage in that activity. So again, if you need some help with goal setting, type GOALS into the chat, and I'll send you over that free resource. You can also find that link, a link to that, at nickpippert.com/free-exercise-guide. I'll put that here in the chat real quick. nickpippert.com/free-exercise. Oops, spelled that wrong. Exercise guide. All right. And then also type goals if you want that to be sent to you. So that's where it all comes from, guys. I strongly believe that PT, although we do really good work, it's just limited work. And I think that we're leaving things on the table that could really improve your quality of life and just let you live the life that you want to achieve. And you do that through fitness. And I understand that it's uncomfortable and that maybe you've never done it before. But it's important. I think it's important. So we're going to talk a little bit about fitness, nutrition, and then the healthcare system as a whole, and just how to use the gains that you've made in therapy and springboard into the next phase of your journey in your health. So the first thing that I want to talk about is strength and gaining muscle. You might think that you gain strength in physical therapy, but when it comes to true muscle strength, we're talking about muscle, like the muscle itself has gotten stronger. I would say that often in a typical 12-week plan of care, you're probably not gaining true muscle strength. And the reason being is we haven't produced a gradual increase session over session over session in the resistance that the muscle can withstand. What more than likely has happened is you have improved your ability to turn the muscle on and improved your ability to not feel pain when that muscle turns on. And so it's more about a connection between the brain and the muscle versus we've created small tears in our muscle over and over and over again, recovered from that, and created a bigger, stronger muscle. It's more about the mind-muscle connection than the true muscle itself. Now, do you feel stronger? Absolutely. Are you able to activate your muscle better? Absolutely. But have we created lasting strength gains in physical therapy? I would say it's debatable. Now, in order to produce this true muscle strength that I'm talking about, you've got to lift weights. And you may lift some weights in the physical therapy clinic, but generally they're pretty light. And what we see is that to produce true muscle hypertrophy, true muscle growth, you've got to be working at a pretty high intensity, like 85% of what you can do, and pretty close to that failure mark, like so hard that you can't lift a single more rep. That would be 100%. So going 2 reps shy of that failure mark, maybe 1 rep shy of that failure mark, that's the intensity that we're talking about in order to produce true muscle growth. And you do that day over day, over week, over week, over year, over year. And it takes time. It takes generally about 8 to 12 weeks to start to see, where you can see with your eye, changes in your muscle as you gradually increase the weight over time. So every time you do a weight session, you might do 2 weight sessions a week, you get your muscle really close to failure, and then you recover from it, and then you do that same thing again. You get it really close to failure, and then the next week, you might add a pound, or you might add 5 pounds. And so you're creating this gradually increasing pattern week over week, where you add 5 pounds, you add 1 pound, week over week, every week, getting a little bit better. And that progression creates a stepwise pattern that actually gets your muscles to grow. But only if you are working at an intensity that's high, close to failure. Those pretty pink dumbbells are not doing it for you. I guarantee you. They are not giving you enough stimulus to create this kind of phenomenon that I'm talking about. Pretty pink weights may help you improve your mind-muscle connection and so help you feel stronger, but they will not help you improve your muscle strength at the muscle level, which is what I'm talking about. Okay, now the next step is we're now exercising at an intensity that is enough to get our muscles a stimulus to grow. But the other side of the coin is we need to recover from that stimulus. So we've got to have enough sleep. We've got to have enough raw materials coming into our body via the food that we eat in order to recover from that exercise. Exercise is a beneficial stress. It's a stress on the body. And what happens is we actually create little tears inside the muscle, and we have an inflammatory process, and that triggers our body to go in and heal that. And if we have the raw materials, we have the protein, we have the calories for which to create a healing of that muscle, then you get stronger. And that's the recovery bit. That's the other side of the coin. And if you just have stimulus without recovery, you won't get stronger. In fact, you get weaker because you're going to be overtraining and burning your body out. And so there's a delicate dance here. Another thing that I want to say about nutrition is I have a lot of clients who, when we talk about nutrition, they say the words, "I eat pretty good," or "I eat pretty clean." And so if you are finding yourself saying that, I need you to listen to me and hear me right now. You have no idea what you're doing with your nutrition if those are the words coming out of your mouth. Because I can tell you, you're not keeping track of what's going in your body. And so you're not measuring what it is that you're eating. And so how can you know that if you're eating enough? How can you know if you're eating too much? There's just a disconnect, okay? If you want to know how to take a vacation, you have to make a budget so you know how much money you have, right? So you just can't expect to do nutrition right off the cuff. Eating pretty good when you have a weight loss goal or you have a muscle building goal, it's just not good enough. And you're setting yourself up for failure by not keeping track of what's going on in your body. So if that is you, I have some tools that I usually give folks. We use MyFitnessPal to help track. It's a free app. It's a free log that you can do on the phone or the browser. And that will give you an idea of what you're eating. Now, another concept that I want to briefly touch on in this nutrition world and in this recovery world is you can be metabolically healthy. You know, you go to your annual screening we talked about last week, the annual health check-in, annual health appointment that you have with your doctor, and they check your blood lipids, they check your blood pressure, your heart rate, all this stuff. And if you were, you know, in the green, in the good range, but you're using drugs to maintain and hold that standard, you might want to look at that, because there may be some things that you can optimize so that you don't need the drugs. And now I'm not advocating for you to just stop your pharmaceutical medications. This is not medical advice, but simply I'm inviting you to take a look at that mindset of, oh, all my numbers are in a good range, but you're utilizing an external support to help you get there. And now I understand that people have medical conditions. They have, you know, they may have been born with a medical condition, or they might have specific scenarios that they couldn't control. And so that's why I'm not saying to get off of the drugs and just stop taking everything cold turkey. This is not medical advice. But if you're a generally healthy person and you are, you know, normal blood pressure, normal whatever, and you're utilizing some sort of pharmaceutical to help you get there, I might be asking your doctor some questions. Like, I know that we're in a good range, but what if I wanted to get off my medication? What would I need to do to achieve that goal? And I don't think many people bring that idea to their doctors. And I think that can be a really great way to help, to have a conversation with your doctor, to have them help you reach your goals of whatever, you know, whatever it is for you. Fitness, the 5K, lifting the grandkids. You know, have them help you by asking some tough questions. Like, hey, I don't want to take these drugs anymore. What can I do? And that is their wheelhouse. That's their space to be an expert. Drugs and surgery. That's what doctors do, drugs and surgery. So that's their space to help you. And I think more people should ask that question of their doctors during their annual physical. Okay, we've got it under control. Now that's not our standard anymore. Our standard is not using those. So how do I take those next steps to get to a point where I don't need them? I would invite you to have that conversation. Now this goes back to basically my underlying theory, my underlying premise of this whole talk is good is not good enough. I don't believe that just being good is good enough. And I've spent 8 years practicing in the field of PT, and I've worked with personal training clients for 2 years before that at the KU Rec Center with the grad students and staff. And so I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly around the healthcare system. I've seen patients who are young kids come in on a walker, barely able to sit and stand, and they get better, boom, in a couple of weeks. They're made of rubber and magic. I don't think it was anything that I did. They just got better. But that feels really good when people do that. To quote Chris Williamson, I want to just say that rubber and magic bit is from Chris. Thank you, man. Yeah, and then bad, like when people, it really hurts my heart when people, they come in and they don't believe that they can get better. They don't believe that, you know, their bodies can heal. And oftentimes, you know, they'll come at me with like some biomedical, biomechanical, structural idea of like, oh man, my disc is blown out back there. You know, what exercise are you gonna do that's gonna fix that disc, man? You know, I'm just here to get the insurance company to pay for my surgery. And that really hurts because they're not believing, one, in themselves, that their body can heal. And yes, your discs do heal. In fact, the bigger the disc bulge you have, the more it resorbs back in because there's a bigger inflammatory response. And just, they have decided before they've really even tried that the only option is surgery. And that's sad. It's really sad. And unfortunately, sometimes surgery leads to more surgery. And so they kind of perpetuate their own problem. And with that one decision. So that hurts. Now, the worst of the worst I've seen is in work compensation. There's just delays. Inevitably, like when you go through the legal system, there's a methodology, and you've got to get all the documentation and everything's got to line up. And then you got to get authorized, and you only get 6 visits for this authorization. And by the time they actually come in to see us, we're 6 months down the line, and they still haven't received any care. And we do our 6 visits, and it takes several months to get somebody better in the best conditions most of the time. But when you only get 6 visits, it's been 3 weeks, and they expect them to be better in 3 weeks when they delayed us for 6 months. The outcome just doesn't match the input. We need more time, especially if they're in chronic pain. We need more time than what's normally needed for somebody who's more in a normal coming into therapy time frame. I've seen this in Denver, unfortunately, with one of my guys, and he eventually went and got a spine fusion, and even some odd years later, he's still not having relief. Sucks. So my plea is, I invite you to stay out of the system. Use your insurance, use your healthcare as leverage, and to use it to your advantage. But your target is not to be good enough in the eyes of your doctor. It's not to be good enough in the eyes of the healthcare system. That shouldn't be your frame of reference. Your frame of reference should be, how do I optimize everything? How do I get off the drugs? How do I put all the pieces around myself so that I can be the best Nick, the best dad, the best Chris, the best Patty that I can be? And I want to hear about you guys putting your doctor on their heels with the questions that you're coming to them with. You're talking about fitness. You're talking about getting off their drugs. You're talking about your hormones. You're talking about nutrition. These are things they aren't ready to answer. They don't have, a pre-loaded response to you, because these are things that nobody comes to them about. Doctors don't get optimization questions. They get, how do I get the basic? How do I mitigate the worst response? And I think that we need to take it a step further, and we need to start using the dollars that we're spending on our health. We're spending the most, or damn near the most, the US is, in terms of how much healthcare money, and we don't have better outcomes for it. So we need to be asking some better questions. We need to be asking, how do I get better than good? Good is not good enough. I want you to be so healthy that when you see your doctor, you make them uncomfortable and insecure about how healthy they are. Because sometimes they're so stressed and so busy by the nature of the healthcare system that they're not doing an excellent job with their own health. And so that's the goalpost that I want you to be going for. I want to be so healthy, so fit, that when I go in to see my doctors for the checkup, they're feeling insecure about how healthy they are. How cool would that be? Striving for excellence. Good is not good enough. And I think this is the rub. A system that's built on just getting you good enough, and you don't advocate for yourself, you don't ask tough questions, the system will chew you up and spit you out. And It's up to you to create leverage for the insurance that you're paying for already. It's up to you to ask the tough questions. It's up to you to go above and beyond. It's up to you to believe in yourself, to be the healthiest version and make your own decisions and put the people around you that you need to ask the questions, to understand what's going on. It's up to you to own the truth about what's right for your health versus what's mandated for you by the health insurance companies and these for-profit organizations that honestly don't have your best interest in mind. I want you to put yourself at the center and stop asking, what does my insurance pay for? You should start with, what is my goal? And how do I use my insurance to leverage how I achieve that goal? And likely, your goal may need other sources. You might have to pay cash for some of the things that you want. But I would say that you either pay for your health and pay for your fitness preventatively upfront with cash, or you pay for it on the back end in a shrunken life, decreased ability to do the things that you want to do, and decreased quality of life. So it depends on what you want to pay with. Do you want to pay with quality of life later down the line, or do you want to pay with funds right now? What do you value more? Choice is up to you. And when you put yourself at the center of everything, you put yourself as the person who has all the answers, you establish your goals, you ask yourself, what do you want physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? And you start to put all the right pieces around you for you to succeed, you'll see it. You will succeed. And it just takes these small little steps to get your body in motion. But the mindset shift that you need to make is to stop asking, what can my insurance pay for? And start asking, what goals do I have? What is it that I want to achieve? And sit with that. And don't get distracted when you're asking yourself that, because this is a really important question. You might need a coach for any number of reasons. Over the past year and 3 months, I've had a coach for advertisements. I've had a coach for business. I've had a coach for leadership. I've had a coach for relationships, emotions, and for life. You put all of these pieces together. I don't have all the answers. Likely you don't have all the answers either. But if you put yourself at the center, you can start to find your gaps. And that's where you need to find someone who's got the answers, who is an expert. Go out and get the results and get the answers from the experts. You might need a doctor. You might need a nutritionist or a registered dietitian. You might need a personal trainer to keep you accountable for going to the gym. I get it. It's uncomfortable. You might need a PT to help you with your pain. But you've got to know your North Star. What is it that you want to achieve? Or you won't seek out any of these people and you'll stay stuck. So you don't have to have everything figured out on your own, but you do have to have an idea of where you want to go and take responsibility for that. Know what you want. Seek out the support to help you get there. Now, with that being said, if you have recently completed physical therapy and you're looking for the next thing that you want to do, I'm offering a free 30-minute lifestyle audit and goal setting session so we can start to figure out what is it that you want to achieve. You might need some support in even taking the first step and setting some goals. And that's what I want to offer you, is if you're sitting here and you're like, man, I'm in a pretty good spot, but I don't want to backslide. I don't want to lose all these results, all these gains that I've gotten. And I want to take that next step because I want to see what else I could do. then this is for you. So if this is sounding like something you want to do, simply type in the chat the word ready, so I know that this is something that you want to engage in, and I'll reach out to you and we'll set up a time to do a Zoom chat, and we'll discuss what it is that you've been dealing with and what the next step is. And it's no obligation, completely free. I'm not trying to sell you coaching. I'm just trying to offer you the first step into figuring out what it is that's next for you and right for you. And we'll figure out who it is that you need to put around you, all the support personnel, to put around you to achieve that goal. So again, if this is sounding off for you, something's triggering, and you want some support, type the word ready in all caps in the comments. You can shoot me a message on Instagram, on Facebook, or if it's even better for you, you can send me an email with the word ready. My email, I'm going to type in the chat, nick@nickpippert.com. All right. That is all I got for you guys today. So again, that has been on my heart for a long time, 3 years now. And this might be a talk that I give over and over again because I think it's really important. And I think we need to have this shift in our thinking around healthcare. What is truly healthcare? And because right now, I don't think it is healthcare. So I don't think anybody is here for the Q&A portion. So I'm going to give it a couple minutes and then I'm going to bounce. That is good. Got a chai tea from Bob White Coffee. It's got a interesting texture. It's very thick and syrupy, but it tastes good. All right, fam bam. Thanks for joining, Faj. Much love. I'll talk to you soon. If you want the goal setting sheet, goals in the chat, GOALS, goals. If you want a free lifestyle goal setting audit, one-on-one, 30-minute call with me, type ready in the chat and let's chat. All right, fam bam. Much love, and we'll talk to you real soon.